This is a document from Founders Online. It says motion to amend Articles of Confederation and a Rule of Congress, 6 March 1782. Okay, so this is the first document in a timeline. It says motion to amend Articles of Confederation and a Rule of Congress. So basically what this says was in, I think, 1782, there was a motion to amend the Articles of Confederation. Specifically, I think for the Constitution, they're talking about Article 8. It was tabled, I believe, for a year. And then a year later, they were going to look at it again. And what the paper says here from Founders Online is that the documents, when they went to look at those years, that they look a little strange. So you can go and read this document at Founders Online. It's motion to amend Articles of Confederation and a Rule of Congress, 6 March 1782. Okay, so there's a lot of chatter out there, and I first heard this, I think, from Judge Andrew Napolitano about the Articles of Confederation was supposed to be an amendment. There was supposed to be an amendment, and that was supposed to be the Constitution, and this document suggests that that's what they were supposed to do. And specifically, I think it says Article 1 and 8, but I think the Constitution is more an amendment of Article 8. So if you've been listening to my videos, you know what I've been saying, and that's that the Constitution basically is just setting up a seat of government which oversees the places purchased for building posts. And those posts are for fortifications, and those fortifications are for defense purposes. This is a document that shows a bunch of military books that Washington was reading in the years prior to writing or having the Constitutional Convention. George Washington's military manuals compiled by Virginia Still Wood. There's also congressional records. The Congressional Library shows which books he had been checking out. So I found this, and there may be more to this, but I just wanted to point this out, that it seems like for all intents and purposes, the Constitution is an amendment to the Articles of Confederation that resolve that the Articles of Confederation ought to be so corrected and enlarged as to accomplish the objects proposed by the institution, namely common defense, security of liberty, and general welfare. May 29th, 1787. This is from memory.loc.org. LOC is Library of Congress. I think it's .org, or is it .gov? It's .gov. Memory.loc.gov. It's on a government website. Library of Congress. And what I searched to find this document, these documents, were Committee of Detail. So if you go on that website, you can look around and search keywords Committee of Detail, and you'll find this document. I think this was on page, yeah, it's page 20. So if you just put in page 20, you'll find this right here. Okay, so we have, let's look at our dates here. 6 March 1782 was when the first motion was proposed to amend the Articles of Confederation. And then we have a record May 29th, 1787 to actually amend the Articles of Confederation. Okay, ought to be corrected and enlarged. Okay, that's meets the qualification of amendment. And here in the preamble, okay, so this, our date is This is important. May 29th, 1787. May 29th, 1787. And the preamble says that's what they're going to do here. They're going to common defense, security of liberty, and general welfare. Common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty. And of course, we know that they signed it 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787. So months after they said they were amending it, they finished writing it and they signed it. Okay. And here's the preamble. And I believe this was mainly for Article 8, to set up a military. To set up a military for defense, with a C, spelled with a C. That's proper spelling. And if you want to look up Committee of Detail, it's on Wikipedia, just some general information, Committee of Detail. I had heard about this from someone before in a chat room, and I didn't know what it was. And then I came across this a long time after, and over a period of a few weeks or months, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the phrases in the Constitution, which I'm going to make a video on as soon as I finish my research. But I'll give you a hint. We the people of the United States, a Congress of the United States, a citizen of the United States, Congress of, and I'll go into a more in-depth detail in another video on why that's important. Okay, so I believe that the Constitution is an amendment to the Articles of Confederation, and that the reason why I believe that they don't want people to know is because it says the states, when it's talking about the independent states, it says shall remain free, sovereign, and independent, okay? Each state shall retain its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this Confederation expressly delegated to the United States and Congress assembled. So when you look at Article 8 in here, you see it's talking about a military. Basically, it has a lot of what the Constitution has, but this is just a small paragraph, and they realized, well, that's not enough to set up an entire military. And so what they did was they amended it, and they came up with the Constitution, which is really, without the amendments, only 5 pages long. And it has lowercase for the United States of America, whereas the Articles of Confederation has uppercase, the United States of America. And what this does is it sets apart the two things. You have independent states, and then you have dependent states. And the dependent states are the military areas, the posts. Those are dependent states. The federal government is a dependent state. They don't want you to know, because they have been making efforts basically since the Constitution was written to place itself over the states. And they use vagueness of their language by saying that the Constitution created the states. It did, but it created dependent states, which are the military posts. The independent states created the federal government. So the independent states, and that's where the private people live, the private citizens, which when George Washington left public service, what did he say? Do you remember? He said, He was going to leave service to his country, public, which is the public. He was going to no longer be a public citizen, which is a citizen of the United States, but he was going to become a private citizen or civilian, because military, not military. President is a military position with authority over certain civilians who are civil servants, otherwise called employees of the federal government, to become a private citizen, not to be bothered anymore by being in service to the public. Okay, so again, the Articles of Confederation still exist, are still in play. This is really where America is. This is where the free, sovereign, and independent states are. And also, I do have a video out where I talk about how in the Texas Jurisprudence Manual, 3rd edition, it says under statehood that for Texans, the Republic of Texas still exists and still remains an independent state. Kansas must also then remain an independent state because Kansas retained all of its rights over the military post, a dependent post created by the federal government. So Kansas has all rights over the military post created by the Articles of Confederation, or created by the Constitution, whereas some states didn't retain their rights over the military post. That doesn't mean they're not independent states. That just means that they're they did not retain their rights to legislate over the federal lands. Okay, and I've talked about Article 1, Section 8, just being one long sentence. I've talked about the Officer's Manual, which Article 1, Section 8, which talks about taxes, duties, imposts, excise, coins, and all these other things. They apply under Clause 17, the district being the seat of government and the places purchased for forts, which are the posts, and explains all that in the Officer's Manual. So this document, I think I can say with all the evidence that I've accumulated, that it's my belief, based on the evidence, that the Constitution is an amendment to the Articles of Confederation, and they're only given power to basically run the federal lands, which are military posts, and then I think some reservations, Indian reservations, and some things under other treaties. Okay, and so you can go out and find all this information yourself. It's available on the internet, easy to find. I've given you all the keywords, I've given you the websites, and just see it for yourself. Look through my other videos if you want to, and I try to give all of my sources so that you can go and read for yourself and see that what I'm telling you, I'm just reading to you from what the actual federal laws, reports, debates, records, federal records, the federal registers, what they show. I'm just showing you what they show. Okay, I'm just telling you what they say. All right, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.